Yes, hello. Welcome to the Gamble and Finn reality check larger than live here in Greater Scotland.
Right.
Just moments ago.
I don't know what the hell is going on behind us.
During the promo. Yeah, apparently we're in an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Sheesh.
Something's going on over here on the back 40. We're at the Oasis here at House Gamble, and the weather has taken a slight turn since
Of course it has.
Since our promo. It's probably
Right.
about 15 degrees cooler than it was moments ago. But I'm Gamble. He's Finn. No, wait.
Right. No, you got that backward.
I'm sorry.
No, wait, didn't you say it's 55% chance for rain now and 0 the rest of the night?
Right after we're done.
Now, I watched Kevin Robinson, and he said earlier there were going to be some clouds, which we have, but no rain.
All
so
right.
we'll hold him accountable.
We'll see what we can do. But I would tell you this. For those of you who have checked us out before, we appreciate it. For those of you who have liked and shared, thank you so much. Anybody that's new, what we do is we really just sit down and try to discuss some of the nonsense of the day, dig a little deeper than the things that we get into on Thursday nights on 700 WLW. And as a matter of fact, I mean, tonight we had planned things like day drinking, our regular drinking game going on. Vogel was some George Vogel from Channel 5 supposed to be here for the bourbon tasting. That got put off a couple of weeks. We were going to talk a little bit about binge watching and things like that. But since we were on the air last Thursday, Fred, things have changed a little bit. And usually we wing it on just anything. I think we're going to start with winging it and see if we get to anything else.
Well, this really started for us. Of course, today's the 1 week since George Floyd's death in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
So we're on from 9 to midnight on Thursday nights, and last Thursday evening, literally at about 11:50, we were about 10 minutes away from being done for the evening when the sheriff, who was the producer of the show, came and said they're starting to kind of protest and maybe riot in Columbus. And we kind of said we'd talked about what had occurred with George Floyd maybe during 2 segments because we had a number of guests and kind of had it planned out. But then and we both said, let's see where this goes. And boy, I don't know. Maybe we thought that it might escalate a little bit, but I don't know that I had any idea that it would get to the point where we are today, and not just in Minneapolis, but here in Cincinnati and Louisville, where they had another shooting death last night, and there's protests been all day today. And I talked to a couple people today who are in and around downtown who said they don't expect this to end anytime soon, that being the protests.
Yeah, the protests and hence the curfew. So just as businesses were building back up from COVID and
just
all of
brutal.
This, now this steps in and takes over. And here's the thing that I would tell you, Fred. You and I were very clear last Thursday.
No question.
We didn't spend a lot of time on it because it was very fresh. It was very fresh in the news. But there was no doubt that what we saw on that video, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch the whole thing.
I did.
I read about it, and it broke my heart to see what was going on
Me
there.
too.
I could not watch the whole thing.
But I wanted to see because I tried to watch and listen to a number of different accounts and interviews because, you try to do your due diligence and see. But I guess what I don't understand, and to make it clear, we both agreed last Thursday unequivocally that officer should be charged with murder.
Yes, not third-degree murder. But whatever with intent.
Correct. And then to me, the other 3 officers who were around the police vehicle should have been charged with an accomplice, whatever that.
Yeah.
And
Accessory
I'm not
to
correct.
or
Accessory
whatever
to.
it is.
Thank you. I haven't
Come
gotten
on,
to
man.
that.
You watch enough.
I have, but I haven't
Law
gotten
and Order
to that.
And Chicago Fire and LAPD.
But I just think for me, I'm going to blame Minneapolis, and what I mean by that is not Minneapolis, the city, but I don't understand. You heard the district attorney the next day or days after say, well, we need more, we're looking at this evidence. What more evidence do you need? Unarmed, handcuffed, face down, 9 minutes, knee to the neck. I talked to a guy in the military today who's an ex-military guy, and he was just telling me, he said, that is the part when you put your knee there, you're done.
Yeah.
I mean, you're done. And really the medics who showed up really it didn't seem to be very expedient. Passerby, people were, the guy can't breathe. I mean, yes.
Well, to your point, as we walked out, we said, let's see, because that's the kind of the blessing and the curse of being on once a week on WLW.
Right.
It takes us a week to find out what one thing leads to another.
Correct.
Honest to God, with the pandemic stuff.
It
really hadn't progressed. We still didn't know what we didn't know. All
Correct.
we were dealing with was not the turkey, but the dressing. How people were going to deal with this, the mask. Will you wear a mask? Will you won't wear? All that sort of thing. This, in 1 week, turned into Another thing that this country does not need
Correct.
right now, and it was completely avoidable. First off, because of what you said, but this is the thing that pisses me off about it. This was avoidable, and you said, I don't blame Minneapolis. I do blame Minneapolis. They had a moment. They had a very brief moment where even if it wasn't immediate custody for the officer, but they did fire the officers.
Fired all four.
They moved
right.
into manslaughter 3 and murder 3 and manslaughter. But the moment that they did have was when every single person that looked at that video was on the same page.
Right.
Everyone. I don't know. I mean, there were certain people, well, let's find out what this guy was all about. There was no arguing what you saw and what that video
Correct.
represented was. And what it was allowed to de-escalate or escalate into became something that has now taken the Floyd's
Yep.
name out of it, and now it's all about broken glass and stealing
Right.
and this and that,
Right.
and who's responsible and who paid these people. It has turned into a complete shit show that it did not have to be.
Well, you misunderstood. I mean, when I say Minneapolis, I mean, no, I completely blame their inability to come to a swift decision to be done with it and get it out there. You're right. They missed that opportunity.
They missed the opportunity when everybody was on the same page.
And
it wasn't a very big window,
No.
but it was big enough.
I said this last Thursday. Look, I'm not going to sit here and profess to say what has occurred to black men and people
Right.
in this city because we're not.
Right.
We're two white dudes, right? But I will tell you that what irritates me about not only this but other circumstances, and I heard this. I watched a little of the news media. We'll get to that, the national news media, which is a joke.
Right.
But I watched where they had those incidents in New York City, Washington, D.C., a lot going on in Louisville, but where they had the two police SUVs basically just kind of plow into the crowd.
Yeah.
And they had the police chief, and I heard the word, it just made me cringe. Well, we're investigating. And I understand the African-American community, and here's what I understand. How many times have you heard that? What have these investigations ever proven? What is ever done? And I can understand the angst because when that's all you ever hear, we're investigating, we're looking at this, we're looking at that, what has ever been done on any level?
Well, you go back to the riots here years ago, the Timothy Thomas triggered things, and there have been more around the country. But what I would tell you, and there was a list of demands put out by the protesters, whoever is representing
we'll
them.
Get to some of
today
that protesting, too.
And that's where exactly what I want to get to. The list of demands, there are some that are absolutely legitimate. Citizen review boards. Things that I would have thought would have still been in place based on what's happened in this town.
Well, why isn't it still in place?
And again, that's a good question as to why. There are some other things in there, like the adjudication or a fair trial of Ray Tenzing. They're still bringing up Ray Tenzing in all of this. And that has, for better or worse, that has come and gone. You hit on a great point. Look, neither one of us is a black man.
No, we're not.
And that's something I don't know what it's like to be a black man in that skin in this city or in any other city.
Right.
I don't. But here's what I do know. And this is the thing that pisses me off. I do know consequences. If you do something a certain way, consequences exist. And I saw all of these asshats lined up downstairs for spray painting the museum, or was it Great American Ballpark?
Great American
or
Ballpark
spray
was
paint,
something.
and
Did a lot of different places.
Just damage, and a lot of it was white kids, and it's the ones that just want to step in and go, "I'm with you, but I'm not with you. I'm not with you enough to get in deep with you." I'm the one that we've gone from the land of opportunity to the land of opportunists. I think this whole thing of people, whether they were Antifa or whoever it is, hired to come in and start shit. That guy with the AutoZone in Minneapolis that was walking by breaking windows with a hammer. And it was the protesters. And they're like, what are you doing? You are completely derailing our protest. You saw a group of black men kind of link arms to protect one police officer that had been separated from his unit and said, you are not going to get to him. And I think we have allowed ourselves to be corrupted on this. But consequences, if you were out and you were looting and you were vandalizing, you've taken the focus off George Floyd, and you should be prosecuted for what you've done.
Well, I'll give you two things on George Floyd. One of his best friends was Steven Jackson, had a good career in the NBA. And he talked about it. I saw him on one of the morning news programs it was either the day after or 2 days after, and they asked him, and he said, look, this is not anything like what George Floyd would have wanted to come out of this.
His brother said
well,
that,
his brother today with a megaphone, he basically said, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's not, we're a peaceful family, but here's the problem. There are protesters by day. We saw some of that again today. I have no issue with that. I still question that it really does any good, but your First Amendment right, if you want to go down there and voice your opinion, no issue. The problem is protests turn to criminal activity with different people at night.
Right.
And again, we have to be done by 8 because the curfew's gone in one day from 10 to 9 to now 8.
Okay, so now I see another video, okay?
Yep.
Apparently this was an after curfew, a couple of cars on the road, okay? And again, I don't know where the video came from. And that's the problem. I don't know if it came from a news station that was covering. There was a group of white kids in a car, and they were like looking at the camera and waving out the window or whatever. Group of black kids in the car right behind them. Police surrounded that car, pulled them out. I think they maced the girl. The white kids got out of Dodge. That's wrong.
It is
that
wrong.
Is absolutely
no, you're correct.
wrong. And every single chance you have to make this right, you should take that opportunity to make this right. Now, I would say the most effective protest, 2 things. Most effective protest I've seen from a visual standpoint, I think it was in Denver. I think there were hundreds
No,
of
it was in Denver.
laying
yes,
out. They
that's
all
correct.
gathered at the cap or at the
it was
at
in
the
Denver
state building
Yep.
or whatever it is.
Yep, it's raining, by the
and
way.
they
just for
all
the record.
laid flat on their stomachs
They
with
did.
their arms behind their back in the I can't breathe
Right.
position. And I would tell you that was powerful. That was impactful. And if lawmakers don't look at that and see that everybody is kind of in this together,
Yeah.
all the bullshit about, COVID, we're all in this together, nonsense. This is something we can all be in this
Agreed.
together to whatever degree. And what you and I can do is this.
Well, there was the Flint, Michigan, the sheriff who walked with the
Yeah.
group. There were other officers who kneeled down,
Yeah.
and joined in. I know they asked them to do that here in Cincinnati. And again, you have to do what you feel is right. But what needs to happen is some real change. Not this talk about we're looking into this, we're investigating. If you really want to make a difference. And the other piece that troubles me, and again, I don't have any statistical data, but somebody needs to look into this, and I know there are some, are just when black people are just pulled over because they're black. That's nonsense too. Now, and I've been watching my Chicago PD and Law and Order. Look, if you have a vehicle that's been identified as perhaps being involved with criminal I get that.
Right.
Then that's, we want, and I heard Elliot Isaac, the Cincinnati police chief, talk about, we have to balance the allowing people exercise their First Amendment right to protest and also protecting civilians, keeping it safe for people.
Protect and serve.
Well, I mean, again, what did Walmart, what did Target, what did AutoZone, what did those places, what did they do here?
Well, and that's when you go back into the whole conspiracy theory part of it as to who hired the people to start that up and who really is behind all of that. And I would tell you that ultimately, for us to sit here on June 1st, 2020,
right.
and say for black people to be pulled over just because they're black is
appalling.
50 years too late.
It is.
And
It's
then
crazy.
not enough people have said it from this side of that prism, I would tell you. And I have, I always tell people this all the time. I don't have any black friends. I just have friends. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter to me what color they are. Now, if you're on the other side of this, I saw a group of black protesters telling a group of white protesters that we appreciate this, but this is not your fight. We appreciate what you're doing, but you can't just now, out of convenience, come in here and pretend you're me. And
Do you agree with that?
They're exactly right.
Okay.
Now, you can support, but you cannot walk in and pretend that you are part in lockstep with them and understand what they're going through. One of the best commentaries that I heard about this whole thing, and this is, if anything, further proof that we have hopefully come a long way, because I hate current hip hop. I hate current rap music. I think it speaks the wrong message to people who don't need to continue to hear the message of violence and this and that and the other thing. I really do. But I'm going to tell you right now,
Fred.
this guy Killer Mike, who spoke at the Atlanta.
Look at this.
We're
prepared.
I'm going to be fine.
We're outside.
My iPad will be fine. All right. Here, I should have warned. I'm getting one of those hats.
Keep yourself dry. We're
Here.
keeping it off the equipment, the microphone. It's all good.
For God's sakes.
We
Here.
do need one of those umbrella hats.
I look like Catherine O'Hara in Beetlejuice now.
Tell you what, I need's another beer.
No, for God's sakes. The bottom line is,
Stop raining on Mondays.
his name is Killer Mike.
Yes.
And I can't do this.
And honestly, I can. because I'm kind of a pansy when it
you
comes to this
can.
kind of stuff.
Puss.
If you haven't seen this, you ought
You want to
watch
check it out because he has family who has been in the police department
Correct.
over the years.
Multiple relations.
And he steps up and he says, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be. And
Right.
here's what I would tell you. Do not burn your own house down. It is time to go inside, make that a safe place, and strategize, organize, and then get ready to
And
mobilize.
mobilize. Yep.
And he is exactly right. And this does not need to happen just in the black community. It needs to happen with anybody that will kick in a moment to say, you know what, we're all on this same page. And we are. And more than this COVID, we're all in this together nonsense. This is where we have a turning point in this country to do this right. And we have one shot at it because the whole place is going to burn down. You got to tilt your thing back so we can see your pretty face.
Nobody. If you can just
Here.
listen. That's
This
why.
doesn't even cover my bowling ball head. Why did I get this
Well,
one?
George Floyd's brother said the same thing. And the message was, hey, if you've got somebody who's a DA or somebody who's in this position or whatever, vote. Make change that way.
Beat up the politicians at the polls.
Right. But the issue I would argue with some of the politicians is look at the choices you've got.
Right. Well,
I mean,
that's
you
a
got
whole
Clown
different
A
show.
or Clown B.
That's a whole different show. And I would tell you, but they're talking about down to the prosecutorial level.
understand it,
If you
right.
don't, you know what I'm saying. So
do.
you know, and Joe Dieters has been prosecutor in this town forever. There's a lot of people that don't think he has done right by the community. There's some people that feel like he has. Obviously, the Ray Tensing thing is still a hot
Right.
spot to be brought up this many years later. But the list of demands I was looking at from the protesters, and I don't know where they came from or who put them together. There were some in there that made perfect sense. Citizen review boards, access, what's the word? Transparency. You know, but then there were some in there. Don't let universities and schools deal with the police. They should deal with parents and da-da-da and da-da-da. Yeah, because parents are famous for getting involved in their kids' schools these days. They
Right.
can't wait to get more involved in
that's-
school.
that's
That is
ludicrous.
the most nonsensical thing ever. Because here's the thing. And this is what I said. If you're going to be in this camp of snitches get stitches, and you're going to be over here hiding behind the badge, and neither one of your organizations is willing to root out the assholes from within your organization, it is never, ever, ever going to be fixed. So let's change those. Let's change those attitudes. I don't want to
agree.
hear anybody preaching. God bless you, minister, whoever. I'm tired of hearing preaching. I'm tired of your goddamn hashtags. If I see another so-and-so strong hashtag, all of that is bullshit. You have got to do something. And when I say you, I mean me. I mean you. What do we do? What do we do? No more hashtags.
Well, what we do right now is we reset. It's Gamble and Fin. It's
Oh,
larger than
what a
live.
headache.
Take a deep breath. We do this each and every Monday at 7 o'clock. It's our Facebook Live. And Thursday nights, we're on 700 WLW, the reality check from 9 to midnight. So we this gives us a bridge in between. We promo stuff, and we're working right now to get Chuck Mingo, who, if anybody's familiar with Crossroads, the church, Chuck's been involved with a lot of race relations related issues and groups and community gatherings, et cetera, is really, really a well-spoken guy. And looking forward, and I'm supposed to touch base with him tomorrow. I hope to have him on Thursday night. We're working on a couple other special guests. But the other piece, too, is I just don't understand the destroying of property. That doesn't, and again, I'm not lumping that in with the protests because they're two different factions. But just like I would like to hear police officers come out and say, that's not how we operate. Very rarely do you hear that. I mean, so, the chief might say, hey, that's not our protocol. I want to hear some other officers say, look, because they're unfortunately lumped in, grouped.
Yeah.
But I also want to hear protesters more vehemently, and I know some of them have, but I want them to say, look, folks, you're not helping our cause. What you're doing is not helping the situation.
But I think that's it. It's not the destruction of property. It's the destruction of credibility.
Correct.
And that's the problem. And then it's backed up with CNN and MSNBC over here and Fox over here. And if you are just willing to just line up behind one of these and take it lockstep for what they say, then honestly, it's never going to get fixed because we have lost the ability to think for ourselves. I think, honest to God, this is an opportunity. Remember Rodney King? Why can't we all just get along? That was a phrase that was used and ultimately bastardized left and right. You know what the new phrase is? I can't breathe. And it's not just George saying that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can't breathe applies to this whole country right now. I
Well-
can't breathe. I'm getting choked to death by all of it because it's not getting any better because we're not letting it get
Well,
better.
you
We're not
know-
working hard enough to get better.
I've spent 3 decades in some aspect of the news media. I
Yeah.
started off as a journalist.
I blame you.
It was my major in college. I was a newspaper reporter, and I got to tell you, then all the years we've collectively spent, in radio, it's embarrassing. What they call national news today is embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. These networks, it's all framed. And again, your news, it isn't. Everything is framed today.
Well-
and I can't stand. I try to watch some of that national news today, and let me just give you this. We're going to get to social distancing too. When you're on the street giving a report and there's no one else around you, take your damn mask off.
Well, that's all dog and pony
I know
show
it is.
nonsense.
It's crazy. But now I want to also bring this up. So when we reopened restaurants in Ohio and greater, you remember the Friday and Saturday
Right.
night, the mayor came out and everybody came out and said they're not doing this properly and we're going to come down. Consider yourself warned.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody? Now, I know a lot of people are wearing masks, but what happened to the social distancing?
Well, but then that feeds into the next conspiracy theory. Are we done with COVID-19 or is this just halftime?
Well, the news
I'm
media
sick.
is. They got the next thing
They
they
got-
love. They love the race back
Oh.
and forth. They love it.
Nothing
Can't get
better.
enough of it.
Yeah, race
That
baiting is the
rhymes.
number one media thing
No
that
question.
this country cannot. And here's what I would tell you: if you are, I would like to speak to Vladimir Putin, who I know watches this, and Zingling or President Z or whatever his
You're
name
close
is,
enough.
the guy in China. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I honestly don't know his fucking name. If we want to give pardon my French, if we want to give somebody a how-to guide on how to destroy this country, we are handing it to them on a silver platter.
We're in pretty good progress.
We have handed them 2 or 3 weak spots that we have right now that if you want to get in and you can figure out a way to do this, you know what? You might as well take advantage of it because I'll tell you something. We are showing every chink in our armor that we have right now. And if we don't come together, and honestly,
It's not raining anymore.
It's not, yeah,
Just in case you
I just
know.
thought it looked nice on you, so
Yeah,
I
thank
left you
you.
go. But I'm telling you right now, if we don't figure this out, somebody's going to step in and try to figure it out for us. How about getting shade thrown at us by China over Hong Kong? We're trying to talk to them about Hong Kong, and then we've got this going on. Oh yeah, here. I hate to lose that. It's a wonderful accessory.
We
we're
have
getting,
some of the
we're getting
finest
shade.
umbrellas ever
We're
bought.
getting shade thrown at us by Iran.
Right.
Iran.
I know.
And China, places
But I
famous
guess my
for their
question
human
to you
rights.
would be though is
We
how do
got to
you-
figure this out.
But how are we going to figure it out?
we have
We
to
can
talk.
I mean,
We have to talk honestly. We have to talk honestly.
Good
you
luck
know.
with that. You
And-
really think the people in power are going to talk honestly?
Well, I don't. But it's not going to. Everything that's ever happened of any consequence in this country has not come from the people in power. It's come
You're
from the
right.
people showing the people in power
Right.
what power really is. And we are supposed to be a republic that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Well, we're the people. If we
Right.
don't do it, it's not going to happen.
I agree.
And I'll be honest with you. Somebody posted a thing that that Trump said, used the word thugs and talked about the looting and this and that. Well, somebody posted a video of some other thing that happened during Obama's term. He said the same thing. He just said it more eloquently. But if people don't seem to understand the media that we're talking about, there's videotape of everybody saying everything. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
we have given it enough lip service. This is the moment. This is the defining moment right now that if we can't figure this out, this whole country may burn to the ground or we may be in the middle of another civil war.
Well, I will tell you one thing I did forget. The New York police chief this morning, when they were asking him about the 2 SUVs that kind of plowed into the crowd, it was interesting. He said, well, I do have to mention, we sent a couple other videos to the news media
Yeah.
of police officers being essentially under siege, being almost attacked in their vehicles. You didn't run
No,
any
you
of
didn't run
those.
any of that.
See
Or-
that? Right.
Or to your point earlier, any of those that had, people arm in arm with the police.
Right.
I remember an image, and I don't know if it was calculated or put together post. I want to say it was Vietnam or Korea, but it was it was a line of troops, and maybe who knows, maybe it was Kent State. I don't remember, but you remember it was a girl. I think she was kind of a hippie girl, and she walked up, and there was somebody there with a rifle, and she put I think it was a daisy and the end of
I
the
think
rifle.
that was Kent State.
Do you remember that?
I
Do you
do.
remember that image? And I thought, where is that image? Why aren't we seeing? Because there are places around the country where good things are happening and people are working together. Where are those images? There's no money in those images. So we have to demand better.
Yeah, right.
Now, how do we do that? With the politicians, we can do it at the polls. But with regard to news media and the TV news and what sells, we have to quit buying the shit they're selling. We have to quit doing that. If you don't like it and you don't like the messaging, move off of it and don't consume it. Stop consuming it. Unfortunately, a lot of this furnace of hate just continues to be fed, and I've had it. I can't watch the news.
Well, I
can't
guess-
even talk to my mom about this. She's 80 and she's wrapped up in it.
I guess I kind of go back to the news because I spent time in the news, and I'm hoping that, because I like to at least follow the news to know what, I can't know everything on my own, so I'm hoping that I get.
Say I can. It's a pain in the ass.
Is it? Well, no,
Sorry, I
but you
just
know
had to
what,
laugh
though?
about something.
But I got to be honest with you. You're almost better off just ignoring. I hate to say that, and that's I don't want apathy.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that I don't pay attention because I feel it's kind of my duty to do so.
Well-
But when it's presented the way that it is, it's embarrassing.
And you've gone from, and I go right back to the beginning, Minneapolis had a moment. They had a window. And everybody that saw that video or read that account or heard eyewitness accounts, everybody was there. We were all, I think, there for the
Yeah.
most part.
Right.
And if I say all, I'm going to say that's 51% of us. And I think it was much
Right.
higher.
I do
that
too.
thought that guy murdered that
Sure.
guy. Okay, we had that opportunity, and then all this other stuff, and that's where I go back. It's not destruction of property; it's destruction of credibility.
Yeah.
Because right when we could have all worked together to figure this out, all this other stuff started.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
We lost that window of opportunity because it became about that. And our buddy Josh Sneed at Cincy Shirts, it's I almost sent him a note, said buy the corner store, they said. Double the window exposure, they said. It'll be great, they said. Meanwhile, he's putting glass back in his windows.
Right.
And that sort of thing. And that's where you had me and then you lost me. But
Right.
I'm willing to go back to you had me
Well-
if we can figure out a way to tamp this stuff down and start talking.
But I guess I'm going to separate the people who are truly concerned about the cause and truly trying to make a difference with the people conducting that kind of activity.
But who
I
are
think-
those people?
I don't know.
Well, that was one
That's
of the
a
other
great question. I don't know.
One of the other demands was that all 130 or whatever it was people that were arrested with regard to this protest be immediately released and charges dropped. No.
Why?
You know what?
No,
Because
they
if you were
committed a
caught
criminal act.
busting somebody's window or spray painting,
Starting a
on
fire?
building, starting a fire, no, we're not. That would absolutely be off the table.
Agreed.
Citizen Review Board, transparency in video, body cams, all of those different things, rooting it out from the inside out. Absolutely. That's
Right.
stuff that should have been in place already, and it's sad that we needed it to begin with. I'm getting a really smashing headache right now.
I can understand
We have
why.
to. We have to.
Right.
What I'd like
We
to do
can.
is take a break and
Let's do that.
and reset, and not take a commercial break.
Right,
but
we
I
don't
would
do
like
that
to,
here yet.
No. Yeah.
Well, we
but-
won't ever really take a commercial break, but we'll take a shameless
Yes.
break at some
We'll
point.
take a
hopefully.
shameless plug break.
We
or
will.
we'll be wearing shirts and hats that,
Yes.
we will make NASCAR look like Mary
Right.
Poppins. We swear to God. And we're coming after you, by the way, sponsors. We are coming after you.
Sooner
We're-
rather than later.
Yes, we are honing our skills. We are honing our production value thanks to our crew behind the scenes, the multitudes who have put this together and are running around behind the scenes who you don't see, including, I would say, I'm going to go ahead and give them credit for being our first sponsor. Okay?
Yeah.
Only
you realize
because-
what you just did now. No one's going to answer my calls in the coming weeks.
Is that right?
You just screwed me.
Why?
Yeah. Because you said we're coming after them.
Oh, we are. Well, you know what? Forewarned is forearmed.
Right.
So I would tell you, Stacy Cathers, who has been a Facebook friend of mine for countless years, has always liked the show. I'd never met her. She reached out and she said, you know what? We love the show. And at the Ellesmere, Kentucky Post 6423,
Yep.
they have decided that they wanted to be a part of the show. And they wanted to start with the bourbon tasting, which we thought was going to be tonight.
And we'll get there.
And we will get there. But they provided us this bottle of 1792
Awesome.
small batch,
Yep.
which is great. It's out of Barton in Bardstown, Kentucky, Barton
You
Distillery.
got to have a Kentucky bourbon.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll get Vogel and maybe, we'll look out. Let's reach out to
Yeah.
Dickman. He's got that bourbon bar.
He does?
Down there by Smoke Justice.
does indeed.
See if maybe he could bring somebody out here to sort of administer this whole thing. But the bottom line is they brought us a nice care package of the bourbon and some pretzels. They found homemade snacks for Calvin. I mean, she pays attention.
Yeah.
And the folks at Ellesmere 6423 pay attention, and we appreciate that.
We do appreciate
and
that.
we appreciate you and anybody that wants to be involved. Look, we are shameless, but we have a lot of fun with it. And that's really
more fun. And normally we have a lot of fun and laugh, and that's the purpose of this.
And I think too, what you talked about at the very beginning, it gives us an opportunity to go deeper into subject matter that we can't go into when we're on LW. You know, we talked about this with George Floyd and a little bit because it was still in its infancy. But this was an opportunity really to unload. And I don't know that I don't feel better for having done it.
No, but you do feel better talking about it.
I do. I think that's what we can do. When
right.
If we can
that's
open
what
up,
we should do.
If we can, exactly. If we can open up your mind to the fact that, even if this is not something I would normally have gotten involved in, let me take a minute and look into this and let me see if I can make a difference. And you will make a difference with politicians in the polls. You will make a difference with news channels that just all they do is inflame and exacerbate everything. Just stop. Tune them out. Move somewhere else. We have the power because we are the people.
On a lighter note, what does the number 540 mean to you? This is when you know you've hit the pinnacle of life.
540.
You said this to me within the hour with about an hour.
I know.
So is this just an indicator of when you've hit life's utopia? I mean, I don't know how life can get any better than this.
This is it.
What does 540 stand for?
540 represents the number of poop bags that I got in the mail from Amazon.com in these little convenient rolls. So when I walk Calvin, you just tear one off, you put it around your hand like a glove, pick it up, tie it off, toss it out.
So is it like getting the Oh, you brought one.
There's a whole roll of them, right? I don't know how many that is, but there's a lot of them. 540. I was using some of the plastic grocery store bags, but they have a tendency to have holes in particular places, and you don't find out until it's too late, till you got some of that under your thumbnail, and that's not good later if you haven't washed.
And you stepped in the same spot twice, right?
That's a good thing. I would tell you this, Calvin, who's my dog, I picked him up from League for Animal Welfare just about a little over a month ago, and we went out one morning, and he had taken dropped a pile the night before. We went out the next morning. I didn't know it was there. It's not a huge yard.
So you didn't know he had taken one the night before?
I didn't.
Okay.
And my yard's not this big. It's probably from here to there. But there's still plenty of square footage. I stepped right in it. And I went back to the house. I'm like, what in the hell is that? He didn't take a dump. What is that? And I looked at my shoe. I'm like, sure enough. Sure as shit. So I, of course, did what I always do, called you to tell you I did it. And then, unfortunately...
That wasn't the end of it, though, was it?
Unfortunately, the next day, I took him out. The same time, I stepped in the same pile of shit 2 days in a row. The same pile. And you know what? That's become a metaphor.
What? See, I thought it was different. I thought he had gone twice in the same spot.
No.
You just hadn't picked it up yet.
I stepped in the same pile because I had flattened it the first time and forgot it was there. I stepped in the same pile 2 days in a row. So I'm like, it's time for me to get some poop bags. I got one of those scoops, but that just grosses me out. And then I always wonder, who is really the master and who is really the pet in this situation? I'm walking around picking up your poop. You get to run around, do whatever you want, eat, drink whenever you want, and I'm picking your poop up. Who rules this roost?
He does.
Not I, McFly.
Every time I call, he's asleep. He's living the life that we want to live.
Well, we were talking about addressing day drinking with our episode tonight, and everything we've talked about. I will tell you this: everything we've talked about is enough to get you going and start day drinking. I'm playing my better half. Her birthday is Wednesday. I think tomorrow we're going to start some in the afternoon. Can you?
Define for me afternoon. What is a permissible at our age now? What's a permissible?
Well, I'm going to go with 10 a.m. because it's noon.
Not afternoon.
Well,
that's
it's noon
morning.
out in the middle of the Atlantic somewhere. So that's fine by me. It's
early.
It's 5 o'clock
now,
somewhere.
Is a nap in the a while?
That's my question.
Okay,
that's my question to you
right.
Because you could start day drinking, and it used to be where I could go and crash for a little bit and then start all over again. I was good to go. I don't rebound like I used to.
No, God, no.
But I will tell you, I've had a couple of pretty good since the quarantine hit back in 1863.
Now
I've had a couple of pretty good bounce. I've had a couple of terrible ones, but.
Well, I wouldn't go it's not the bounce back. I would say it's what it leads to for you.
Getting on Facebook and making an asshole out of myself?
Maybe. I mean, there could be that. I mean, that could be one of them, yes. You obviously were at an establishment some time ago when you'd had too many, and I think that started early, and that led to...
Was that my birthday?
I don't know what that was, but that's a day you should just forget about.
I did, because I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
Yes, you do.
Where was it?
When you went up and told somebody they were a nice person.
Yeah.
Right, that didn't work out
Yeah,
so
that didn't
good.
go so good either
No, it
because I
didn't.
trapped my significant
So, no,
other
not
in the
10.
corner.
For me...
Well, I was on vacation when we started at 10. We started making, what are they called, margaritas?
It depends what it is. See, to me, that's way too early for beer. Well, so I played at a ton of golf outings.
Right.
I never drank on the front nine.
Really? See, I
Because by the end, I felt miserable, especially when it was hot. By the time you're on 15, 16, you're just done.
Well, my strategy has always been
I've seen your play. You should drink on
that
hole
I
number
drink
one.
on the front nine, and if I'm but what
Then you just quit.
But whatever happens at the turn,
You just say the hell with it. I'm going to the 19th hole. Then
that's
okay.
The back half is the exact opposite of the front half. So I either start drinking more, or I just stop.
But there are those who swear that once they drink, they play better.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about somebody who's PGA
Well,
Tour caliber, but I'm talking people like us.
I'm going to tell you something right now.
Yes.
I had guys in my house in college that, when they fired up a bong or whatever, they would study, they would get high, and they would study, and then they would get high again before the exam because that brought them back to remembering everything.
Did
and
it
I'm
work?
thinking,
Well,
they said it worked.
I don't think that
Well,
worked.
they said it worked because it brought them back to the same headspace where they were when they were studying. Now, that said, I know what their professions were going to be, and I don't think I want you coming in and slicing me open, Doc. And knowing that you were just out in a bong circle before you rolled in
But
to
that's
take
just
out my
that's
appendix.
studying. That's not operating.
Yeah, my appendix isn't in my knee there, Fred, but toke it up. But I don't know. I just, some people say that they get in the zone or whatever, but I don't. I will tell you, and it also depends. If it's beer, I can go some beers all day long. There's certain kinds of vodka where I think I can go all day long, and then I miss a day.
You might want to
That's
back
not
off
good.
that a bit.
Yeah, that's probably not good, especially mixing it with Mountain Dew.
I
That's
can
probably
tell
a bad
you
idea.
the worst day into night for me was a trip to Kentucky Speedway.
Yeah.
For one of their big Peter Frampton was actually playing on the stage.
Nice.
We had the big race.
Right on.
We went down a little early to a little kind of like a little man cave place that was near the track, and that was just brutal. I mean, it was. I don't know how I made it through the day and night.
Yeah.
What are you watching over there, Fred?
I'm trying to watch us, but I hit
Why
the
are
volume.
you watching us?
I want to see if there's any comments of people calling me a jerk or you a wuss. That's all.
Okay.
I just want to see if we had any comments while you were telling your story.
You hit the volume,
and I hit the volume, of course. And I think I might have just launched the next SpaceX rocket, but I certainly didn't figure out. Does the Aztec live in the woods? I don't know. Is that
remember the Aztec?
I
Well, the
remember the
Aztec
Aztec.
was something. He might have been back there earlier.
Yeah.
The squawking has ended.
Yeah, the
something got killed.
Something got
an animal.
Got
I think. Some activity back there.
But I was trying to find some comments. But go back to Kentucky Speedway. I'm sorry.
I lost. The
You were a
same thing
Kentucky
happened
Speedway
to me
Peter
now
Frampton.
that happened to me then.
You forgot.
Oh my God, it was rugged. And I was in the and I'm sure they'll love hearing this. I was in the WLWT suite. And that's the night I met the governor too.
Governor of Kentucky?
Yeah.
Was it John Y. Brown Jr.? Who was it?
I don't think so. It was. I think it was Steve Bashir.
Oh, it was the
so
other.
we had gone down to the owner's suite, myself and the guy that I was with, because I know some of the people from the Speedway, and this cop outside, because at the time we had to look bad, red faced. I mean, we obviously look like we've had a few.
Now,
and he said like he wasn't going to let us in, like because then I said, well, hey, I'm here to see, and I mentioned the name. Oh, just a minute, sir. And they went and got him, and he said, oh yeah, come on in. And then they introduced me to the governor. I guess I didn't give a good reaction.
You didn't
Because
curtsy.
I could care less.
You didn't curtsy.
That the dude's the governor. I could. Yep. How you doing? I mean, and everybody's like looking at me like,
how you doing?
I don't care.
You didn't say, Your Majesty, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Let me again
Thank
remind
you.
I
You
hate
smell like
politicians.
bluegrass. Oh yeah, they're the worst.
So, but it was awesome because Outback was the sponsor of the suite, so we got to eat, and I ate a lot. It brought me back to life.
Gotta love that. Well, Carl asked, are you a Bloody Mary fan? Because he does Bloody Marys at 10, then moves to beers later.
Well, I think that Bloody Mary is traditionally, I think, an early morning-ish kind of drink.
Yeah, but are you a Bloody Mary fan?
I like tomato juice, but they're okay.
But do you like vodka?
Yeah.
Do you like tomato juice?
Yeah.
Do you like pepper?
Yeah.
Do you like celery?
Not really.
All right. Do you like?
Excuse me.
Well, you can just.
I don't need celery in it.
So then you should like a Bloody Mary.
I do, but I just don't. Dude, you know me well enough. I don't like to make things. I like to just pop a top and go.
Yep. Well, there you go. Well, that's the easiest. Keith Decker says, "Hey, remember Brad Keselowski at Dickman's? I don't know what that has to do with what we're talking about, but yes, I do."
I think we mentioned NASCAR, and I think he's indicating that Brad didn't he have a few down there?
Yeah.
Well, he drove the Miller Lite car.
Yeah,
right?
he was driving.
Okay,
the
well then
number
he
2.
should have a few.
Sadowski says, "I would comment, but no. I know that's because I know he cracks a bottle of wine at dawn when he's up. He and Diana." Kathy, love having you on board. Appreciate it. Hey, remember, like and share. Please like and share.
Yes,
And
please
if you
do.
would,
Tell a friend.
Yeah,
Is that like and share?
Yeah, and also Sonny and share, like and share, whatever.
Yeah.
Just something and share.
She's still alive.
She's still alive? Yes.
He's
She's
not.
perfectly
though, right?
preserved in
He had a
plastic.
skiing accident.
Yeah, he
correct?
ran into a tree
John Denver.
while skiing.
Right.
No, John Denver went down on a homemade plane.
That's right, homemade plane, right? Which is not a good idea to go up in.
So
a
did
homemade
JFK
plane.
Jr. No, his wasn't a homemade plane. He just tried to land upside down in the
okay.
water. That didn't go well.
No.
Well, no, Sonny Bono smashed into a tree while he was skiing. It's not funny.
Well, no, what you're
Well,
laughing.
you know what? Tragedy plus time equals funny,
Does it? Okay.
doesn't it? How long ago was that?
It's been a while.
I feel bad.
She's got to be 85.
I feel bad for now.
doesn't
I
she?
feel bad for Cher now. I do.
Why?
I don't know.
She survived without him for years.
she
has.
carried him on her shoulders for years like a Reese's
She looks
monkey.
like a candle.
Huh?
She looks like
She
a
looks
candle.
like a well, because she's completely made of wax.
Right, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Wouldn't she
I
be
wonder where her.
mid-80s?
I wonder where her wick is.
Wouldn't she be mid-80s?
Mid 80s?
Isn't
No,
she that
God,
old?
no. She's not,
Not
mid
that old?
80s.
You
Cher?
sure?
No. I think she is
Come on,
probably
man. I was watching
70.
that variety show when I
think
was a
she's
kid.
I think she's set probably in her early to mid 70s. Her most of the body parts are in their 20s or 30s.
Right, I
so
got
maybe
it.
cumulatively she's
Okay.
over 100. I don't know.
right.
If you add up the sum of the parts.
I have a tendency to add years on to people. I don't
You
know why
do.
I do that.
If you could just make me 70 so I could start collecting Social Security and didn't have to do anything.
Right.
that
Well,
would
I'd be right there. Can I make myself?
That would be killer. Let's see who else. There's a couple of others on here, but no. What I was going to say, go to our YouTube channel because here's the thing: if we get to 100 likes on YouTube, we'll what is it? Subscribers, not likes.
Jesus.
I don't know. Look, let me just tell you something. We should just bring in some 12-year-olds to sit in our chairs when they start talking about this social media. Honestly, if you're thinking about being a sponsor, there's a lot smarter people running this show than
There
the people
are.
hosting the show.
Right.
So they know what to do with it.
Have
So-
you heard the song by Joe Walsh, Analog Man?
No.
So literally, you need to listen to it because there's a great line in there. He talks at the very beginning about how he can't. We're living in a digital age, but he's an analog. He can't do anything.
Oh, okay.
And he's referencing some smart-ass 10-year-old to come in and fix things for him.
That's great. That's great. And it's so funny, too, because we're working behind the scenes with 2 cameras now.
Right.
This is new, by the way, thanks to our production crew.
I don't think I looked at the camera once.
I just
I've looked
realized
at
that
you.
they zoom in on you when you're talking.
They
and when
do?
they zoom in on me,
Yeah.
it's a side because I'm looking at you. From the side, I look like a piece of Glear's Ghetto with a hat on. It's like, I don't know, with the purple hair, it's like cotton candy Glear's Ghetto.
Well, dude, I'm not going to lie. You haven't exactly done much to make
What?
yourself look better.
What are you talking about? This is
I mean,
fantastic.
you look horrific. I mean, let's be honest.
This is good. I should probably just pull some of this out and put it in one of your pots.
Hey, but on a good
Anyway,
side, you've lost weight, though.
Subscribe to our lot, huh?
You've lost weight.
Well, I dropped weight. I dropped
Okay.
it from here to here, so I'm trying to wait for it to fall out my feet. So, subscribe. Subscribe? Is it subscribe?
Subscribe
to our YouTube channel.
For God's sake, just get this out so we can talk.
Oh my God! I just saw this. Oh my God! Can we stop? What the hell am I doing? I'm never getting laid again. That's it.
Well, that's a personal problem. That
Oh.
has nothing to do with me personally.
You know what? This is a good rehearsal. We cannot do any of this on the actual show. We can't say any of this stuff.
Well, let me just say this. It's better that we do this on Monday and not on Thursday. Huh? I'm just saying. Am I right?
It's better.
Although
for the,
they wouldn't know.
I would tell you it's better.
mean-
it's better for the audience because they can't see this. But
Right.
like anybody. There
right.
knows what's
They
going
would have
on.
no clue.
Anyway, I got to get back to that look.
Yeah.
Or hell, to be honest with you, I might want to go with that look. Good Lord. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
There you go. That's right.
If we get over 100, we can have our own link or some shit. I don't know what happens then. We get our own name link.
Get our
All right,
name.
There you go. How about
Big.
that?
We didn't. Right now,
we get
we're
our
anonymous.
own. We get our own URL.
Custom URL.
Custom URL. Fantastic.
And
And
just,
oh man.
Well, just for the record, once again, your language has prevented this program from being on a number of different channels.
well,
I try to follow FCC even when we're
See,
not bound by the FCC.
You know what? You know what you can spell with FCC.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right. So I don't mean to have the bad language, but I do.
What do you mean you don't mean
if,
to?
If nothing else,
What is that?
I have the. No, I can't even say that. Anyway,
How much longer do we have? Because I'm getting hungry.
we don't have to go any further.
No, I know,
than-
but
than-
I'm enjoying this.
No, this is actually a lot of fun, and it's nice.
Oh,
and,
it's almost. Is it
it's nice
time?
and cool for show and tell.
Yeah.
We can do show and tell if you want.
Well, I don't know.
You want to?
I don't have a
Zach,
watch,
do
and
me a
my
favor.
phone's been.
Huh? I look better on Thursday.
said
better
that?
than what? Oh, Sadowski. Well, he's my man crush. He's always nice to me. I would tell you this. This is god awful.
It's bad.
And I'm not even talking about the hair. This whole thing is a disaster area.
But you have a significant other.
I do, and I swear to God, I had no idea. She needs to go with you to the Eye Institute. Clearly.
Is right.
She needs. Will you partner her up and get a discount next time you go?
She has a birthday coming up,
She
right?
does. Her birthday is
I'm
Wednesday.
trying to set you up because you need it.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Well, as long as I have those pills I throw in her drinks, we'll be fine.
Right. Those can be handy a time or two.
Tic Tacs. What do you think?
Do you want me to go first, or do you want to
Tic
go
Tacs
first?
on show and tell?
Because I'm shameless tonight.
Well, you better.
It's bad.
You might,
Right?
Yeah, you might want to go straight. I don't put stuff in girls' drinks either, by the way. Why don't you go first?
Okay, so last
Show and tell. Explain what show and tell is
So-
for the two new people that have already tuned out.
Right. So show and tell is when near the end of the program here each and every Monday, we have an opportunity to show something and tell kind of it as a backstory, if you will. Is that good enough? You know what shit. If you don't know what the hell show and tell is, tune out. Are you ready? I have 3 items.
Three? What are you going to do the next 2 weeks? Oh, they're all related to each other. Okay.
So, shameless tonight. We love Skyline Chili. We had Sarah Sicking, the VP of Marketing, on last Thursday night on the program, talking about their reopening, and I think the 5th, which is what? This
That's
week.
this Friday.
Friday. I think all the Skylines, those who are not open for dining in, will all be open by then. They're still open for carry out and drive through. But, so this is every year the Skyline Chili Crosstown Shootout. They have a basketball, different themes, different looks. I have every one of them. So
Do you
this
really?
this is from 2002, 2003. Yeah, just kind of, they usually have the UC Xavier. So there's item 1. So then,
It's in a split screen, Fred. We
so
got
then
a split
how about that? So
screen.
then, for those who don't
I'll
know,
explain to you what that
I
is.
own I know what a split screen is,
Oh, okay.
smart ass. So then, for those who don't know, I own and operate the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown. We borrowed the equity from the shootout. This is from 1998, year number 1. The table tent that you could have found then.
Oh, that's awesome.
In your Skylines, and look at the back. It's even got a UC because you could do that. You could get away with that. Back then. Catitude. That's gone away since
Yeah,
then.
it
But
has.
nonetheless, but there's that. And then I like this. I like this.
That's very cool.
An old menu.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, an old Skyline. I
How
don't know
old? How much
I
is a
don't-
coney on that menu? I'll tell you the year. You tell me how much.
$1.25.
$1.25. That's from 18.
A soft drink is $1.15. But it's cool. I got this one time and saved it, and obviously they have a lot more items now today than they did back then. But I mean, here
Can
it
I
is.
tell you something about that menu? Here's the thing. Take a if you got bring it up and get a close look at it. Here's the thing I love about that menu. Look at the overall theme, the color scheme,
Oh, yeah.
the vibe, the checkers. There's a consistency to that brand
today?
that has been there
Yeah.
all along. And I think anybody that goes in and just screws with their brand and change for the sake of change is missing the boat.
Well, they don't need to.
I think that's really cool and fantastic. Let me ask you something about that,
Yes.
Paul. You said you borrowed the equity from the Crosstown Shootout. How did you pull that off? How were you able to get? Did you talk to them about that, or was that a Skyline thing that you reappropriated?
No, we basically, when I had an idea to create this Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky high school football kind of big showcase kickoff event, when we were thinking about it, and it was as important for me. You think about Skyline, they're in all the communities. I mean, they're very engaged and have that connectivity. But I thought it was as important for us to get Skyline as a brand because it gave, you used that word earlier, credibility. It
Right.
gave instant credibility and legitimacy to this event. So it was in a different time of year.
No question,
So
yeah.
you figure the shootouts more, now it's driven by TV because it's a national TV game, but it was either December, January, February. This was in August kicking off the season. So, they had built up great equity and we were able to leverage some of that, and we're still going year number.
I love it. I love
yeah,
it.
pretty
And
awesome.
2 decades plus. That's fantastic.
But you got something pretty darn cool.
Yeah, this is something that actually
Allergies are killing me.
probably is that what it is? Because if you got the COVID, I don't want to hear about it.
The what?
I brought this not because it looks so good on me, but I was in an 8th grade production of Oliver Twist, and
Jesus.
this hat was integral to my role in Oliver Twist. No, I'm just kidding. This is a hat
This
that
is cool.
I had signed by Slash, and I think back in 2012.
Wow.
And I went out and found it's clearly a large, not nearly large enough for my fat head, but and he signed it. I left a tag on it. It's a little dusty, but yeah.
Now,
Slash.
did Guns N' Roses come here to play to Cincinnati?
I'll be honest with you. I want to say this might have been Rock on the Range.
Okay. Probably was.
But I just think this is one of the cooler things. And again,
That's
I get
really
the stuff
cool.
like
Yeah.
we had a Scott Weiland signed megaphone that we ended up giving away. You remember that? From
I do
96
remember that.
Rock.
Yep.
And these are the sorts of things that I collect for myself. That
Right.
I would never sell that.
Right.
I will give it to my daughter because she will get a kick out of it. She loves it, and that's the kind of stuff that I collect. But I have another cool Slash thing I might bring next week, and there's a
Okay.
great story behind it, and I just remembered it, and that's the thing I should have brought this week. But it's really cool. And that guy, he's a good dude. I'll have to share a picture with our producers that they can put up, and it plays right to the Cincinnati Police Department, believe it or not.
Oh, I remember.
Do you remember
that.
this?
I do remember
This
that.
goes
Yeah. I do
way
remember
back
that, yeah.
to the EBN days. But
Yeah.
that's show and tell. That's one of the many features that we're putting together here for Larger Than Live, the reality check here at House Gamble. We love the fact that we get to be out here. This is you've done a great job out here, by the way. I'm not
Thank
kidding.
you.
This looks fantastic.
It's my therapy, my hobby, just landscaping. I can talk to plants.
Well, you know what? And
They're good listeners.
It's funny because you find that solace and you find that ability just to kind of figure out yourself again.
Yeah.
When you do that, mine is painting. When I
Yep.
do the painting, and we'll talk a little.
It's the same thing.
color
You get
verse.
to kind of
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
get to
it's-
kind of
Sure.
re-inspect yourself, and not for moles, but just to see where your head's at and a reset.
Yep.
And we'll talk a little bit about maybe some of our hobbies moving forward. And again, thanks to everybody who's been paying attention. Please like, share, and subscribe.
There you go.
We ask, and here's a great way to end, Fred. Unless you've got anything else. Thanks again to Stacy Cathers and
Absolutely.
everybody
Very
at
nice.
VFW Post 6423. We will get to the bourbon tasting
We
soon
will.
enough, and we are going to go out and grab some sponsors. I promise to curb my enthusiasm with regard to the language to make some sponsors more viable. Probably not, but we'll do our best. But I do think I would like to end on one comment that we got while we were,
All right.
hey, Becky, while we were on. And I think this really speaks to the whole program, okay? And before we do that, I think let's reiterate again. With regard to the George Floyd situation, where we began, these changes are only going to come from the inside out. The government's not going to make the change. The people have to make the change. And the only way you're going to get listened to is to keep your head about you and be smart. Don't F it up for everybody. This is a moment where I think we're all on the same page, and I think that's where we can take advantage of this and really affect real change.
I agree, but there's got to be action.
Yes,
I mean,
there
there
needs to
has
be
to be
action, not
enough
of
of the
this.
investigating, and we're looking into this, and there has to be. And to your point, I thought you brought up a good one earlier about how since Timothy Thomas, a lot that they enacted to hopefully move things forward. Where did that go? Why is that still not in place and still not happening?
Why is it still necessary?
Well, that's an even
And that's
bigger
the
question.
big problem because we're 20
It is.
years removed.
You're correct.
from
20
that.
years and we're at the same place.
So let's do this like we
Okay.
always do. Thanks to everybody behind the
Yep.
scenes. Obviously, Lori Gamble, who has already achieved sainthood multiple times over. The boys for helping out, or at least separating
We now have the Eagle involved.
The Eagle.
Yeah.
I didn't know about this name, the Eagle.
Yeah, he's called the Eagle.
All right. Well, the Eagle then. Well done. We're going to have to teach him how to wear his headphones because he's got them on his cheeks instead of on his ears, but that's okay. We'll have pictures. Maybe we should. You'll see a list of credits coming up here, and it's absurd, but because not everybody's getting the credit they should for what they're doing. But for some reason, you and I get most of the credit. We'll take it. The most of the credit honestly goes to you for watching, because thank you for watching. If it wasn't for you, there'd be no need for us. That's what we tell you every Thursday night,
right?
9 to midnight on the Reality Check.
We'll be there this Thursday.
But I do want to end on this from Debbie Morgan, and it speaks to that. And this, you know what, this is very touching, and we appreciate this, Debbie. Let me see. I have to be honest. When you guys first took over the Thursday night show, I wasn't that thrilled, but I've really grown to enjoy you.
Okay.
That's all we can ask for.
There we go. I think that's a hell of a way to go out for the night.
Are you sure your name isn't Tony Bender?
Right.
Anyway, that's our boss.
Scott Reinhardt. Right, yeah.
We don't even know if they even know we're on the air. But it's fun anyway. Thursday night, 9 to midnight. Here from the back 40, the Oasis at House Gamble. Ralph, cheers.
Same to you, Fred.
Here's to you.
Away we go.
All right, and here's to you guys. We'll be back next Monday, 7 o'clock, this Thursday, 9 to midnight on 700 WLW.